Hello there. So this is part two. Unfortunately, part one my power just went off and had to end that part there. But yeah, let's continue with the hologram story. Yes. So this is where we left off, making these edges kind of be highlighted, kind of have some emission on them. Now let's add that banding, and you can see if you look closely, there's some kind of noise going on in the background, in the images themselves. So let's do that and see how that goes. So let's add a bit of noise to this, and for that we're going to add a noise a noise texture. So noise, Control Shift click the noise. I will preview the noise, this node directly there. I want to scale this down quite a bit. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. I think because I have you see how kind of sync through this, though we are just previewing the noise texture. I think that's an artifact that is brought about by using the blend mode here. If I turn off show back face, it should fix that, though we might want to have that switched on if you are previewing the entire texture, because I think it makes it look a little bit better. So if I turn this on, you can see, I don't know, maybe I think it looks better with that on, but it creates a few issues when we are previewing just a single node. You can see how we are seeing some artifacts there. So I'll just turn that off for now and scale this noise a bit down, something like that. And I don't want these areas here to be too blank or empty like they are right now. So I'm just going to mix this alpha mask we have just created that is feeding directly into this alpha, and I'm going to mix it. Let me add let me use a color mix RGB and feed the factor directly into, let me use color 2, and then this should be color 1. Now if you preview this node, sure this is recording, you can see that we get that bit of noise. I think I can use multiply here. Let's try multiply as the blend mode for this. I think we should use screen so that the noise appears mostly in these empty areas. So if I reduce that, you can see you can reduce the control the intensity by controlling this factor here. So now if I feed this directly into our alpha, you can see that we have some bit of, so these areas are not too empty. We get a little bit of noise in there, and I can also feed this directly into the color ramp here, so that we also have that as our emission. In the emission, I think I need to control the contrast of this noise so that is a bit sharp. So I'll add a color ramp here. Yes, yeah, something like that. So we have some bit of noise in there. Now the next thing we can do is add that kind of banding that happens. It usually happens with cameras recording anything digital, any screen. You get that banding. So let's add that. And if you look at the setup I used here for those materials, just preview here. You can see I used a color ramp with a gradient with a color ramp to control that, and then I use an object to kind of animate it. Let's do that. So open this here. Let's set it up. This texture we can bring it after we have set up the materials. So now for the binding, we're going to add, let me make sure I'm seeing this. Okay, so for the binding, we're going to add a texture, a gradient texture. Now if I preview this using Control Shift clicking the node, and see how this is working, and I'm going to use Control T to add texture coordinate mapping. These shortcuts will only work if you have the node wrangler add-on enabled, which you can find under edit preferences, add-on, and search for node wrangler, and then enable it to have access to those shortcuts. Otherwise, you can find the mapping node under shift A. I think it's under vector. You find the mapping node there, and for the texture coordinates, you can find it under, I think, texture coordinates. Is it? It should be under. You can just search it and then connect them as if you don't want to add the node wrangler add-on. I don't know why you wouldn't want that, but yeah. So let's create the banding. You can see that the gradient is coming from this side to this side. We want it to be going up, or from up and down, or something like that, like we see in the original version here. You can see. So for that, we are going to rotate this. What I'm going to do is change the texture coordinate mapping from generated to object, because I want to control this gradient with an object. So I'll add an empty that will act as our control object. So I'll just add it somewhere like there. Let me switch this. Select this, then pick this as our texture coordinates. You can see how this looks. Let me just move it on this here, so that then rotate it on the y-axis, -90, so that we have something like that. You can see, if I'm to animate this, you can see how the gradient moves with that. And so we want it to be a little bit to make it like to have this kind of layers or lines going through that banding I was talking about. So for that, is this? I'm just going to add a convert car ramp in between the gradient, after the gradient, so that I can control how this gradient looks. So I'm just going to add a few other, I don't know how these things are called, but just a few of them. Make this white, then this should be black, then white, then black. I'm also going to change the interpolation here to let's see, B-spline, so that maybe that's not too much. Yeah, so that is a bit more. It's a bit less gradual, so I think I can add let's see, then add an extra one at the back here, make sure that is white, and yeah, now we can control this banding by this gradient, but we want it to loop over and over. So I'm just going to first reduce my timeline to about 20 so that I can make this loop. So I'll add a keyframe here, and then a keyframe at 20. If I play back, you can see it's looping. Let me first change, because you can see it slows down and then speeds up. So I'm just going to change the animation interpolation to vector. So I just hit V to change the keyframe handle type to vector, so that we get a more linear type of animation like that. Now to make this loop over the entire timeline, so I'm just going to make the timeline about 100. We only need the Z location of this object, so everything else we can let me hide. Everything else we can delete. You can see it stops here, so I'm just going to select these location keyframes, and then go under key, and then add the cycles curve modifier. This should make this loop. And if I want to make it faster, I just scale it in the y-axis, so SY, and it should go a little bit faster, but it's coming from a far distance, so I'll just move this endpoint closer so that it's a bit faster. Now we have our banding, and it loops for as long as we want. And now that we are done with that, what viewport was I working in? I think it's this. We want this to be added to our noise here. So I'm just going to add, let me see, another mix node, color, mix RGB. Have this at the top, color 1, and then this as color 2. If we look at this, now we just need to find the correct blending mode. So let's try screen. Let's try multiply to remove the white areas. Yeah, that's not what we want. We want these lines to be white, and yeah, so I'm just going to invert this color, invert, so that we can use screen. Think that's better. You can, if you don't want to use this blending mode, you can also use a convert mix RGB, sorry, a convert math node. Again, you can have this as color 1 and this is color 2. If we preview this, then you just have to find the right blending mode, the right operation, and I think add works just fine. You have power as well, which is doing the inverse. Let's try multiply, doing the inverse. You can also try switching these around to see what you're getting. But since we already have this working with the blending mode, I'll just go with that. Now we just have to again use this as the factor for this color ramp, and also for our alpha. Yeah, preview this. Let's see. I think we are getting better. I don't like how this noise is kind of still. It's not moving. So what I'm also going to do is just have it connected to this texture coordinate so that it moves with the our noise here. So I'll just connect this directly like so, and that should also make the noise move. Yeah, I think it does move. It's moving. So, and the good thing about this workflow is that if I find my object, where is that? Okay, yes, here you can scale this up, and you can also, that will also scale up your banding, and yeah, so you can see we're getting an issue here where the loop is not completely going through. So I'm just going to go back to my, let me just split this so that we have our timeline here. Just going to scale or look at this and see what's going on here. I think I can get rid of one of these points. Yeah, I think that's better. So we have the banding, we have the noise. What we are lacking is the texture. You can see this fridge has a texture. So with only this shader, it's hard to tell the details of this here. And as this is a kind of an ad in the future, you would expect it to have some to be recognized as a fridge, Coca-Cola fridge. So for that, I'm just going to again find a way to mix this, add this into the mixture. So we have our texture here. Forget about this because we don't have a texture for this. We're just looking at this. Let's see how we can blend this into this. So this video has already gone to 15 minutes. So I'll just pause here, and in part 2, I'll be adding this texture so that we have it looking. You can see how it comes through in the actual image. You can also see this model also has the same texture coming through. So we'll be looking at that in part 3. Thank you for watching.